They are the ultimate survivors, a biological machine designed to consume, destroy, and multiply. They are smarter than your dog, faster than an Olympic sprinter, and more destructive than any other invasive animal on the North American continent. There are over 6 million of them roaming the American landscape right now. They cause $2.5 billion in damage every single year. They wreck delicate ecosystems, level industrial farmlands, and outsmart the most sophisticated traps humans can devise. Yet they represent something else entirely: a massive, endless supply of free, organic, high-protein meat. Logic dictates we should eat them into extinction. In a nation that consumes more pork than almost anywhere else on Earth, this should be a resource, not a plague. But we don't eat them. In fact, most Americans won't even touch them. Why does a country obsessed with meat ignore a limitless feast? The answer isn't just about taste. It is a darker story involving hidden diseases, a government paralyzed by its own red tape, and a biological mystery that makes these animals untouchable. The catastrophe began, as many ecological disasters do, with hubris. In the 1930s, purebred Russian boars were imported to the United States. They were brought here for sport, a rugged, dangerous game animal for wealthy hunters to stalk on private ranches. They were prized for their aggression and their hardiness. But fences fail, and nature finds a way. Some of these Russian boars escaped. Others were released when the sport fell out of fashion. Once they hit the open American wilderness, something unprecedented happened. They didn't just survive, they evolved. The escaped Russian boars began breeding with escaped domestic pigs. This created a genetic cocktail known as hybrid vigor. The result is a super pig. It possesses the high reproductive rate of the domestic farm pig and the razor-sharp survival instincts of the Eurasian wild boar. Their biology is terrifyingly efficient. A single female can reach sexual maturity at just 6 months old. She can birth 2 litters a year with up to 12 piglets in each. Mathematically, it is an explosion. You can kill 70% of a feral pig population in a specific area, and within 1 year, they will have fully recovered their numbers. They are a biological wildfire. And right now, Texas is burning. In Texas, they don't call it pest control. They call it a war. The state is ground zero, home to nearly 3 million feral hogs occupying 79% of the land. Farmers are losing their livelihoods. These animals don't just eat crops, they root. They use their snouts to dig massive trenches in search of tubers and grubs, destroying expensive irrigation systems and eroding soil until the land is physically unsuitable for farming. They are also incredibly intelligent. They learn to avoid traps. They become nocturnal to avoid hunters. Researchers have even resorted to the Judas pig technique, capturing a hog, fitting it with a GPS tracker, and releasing it. It leads the hunters back to its group, betraying its own kind.
The desperation is so high that the state has authorized aerial gunning, hunting from helicopters. It is a violent, expensive, and chaotic solution. But even with military-grade tactics, Texas is only removing about 29% of the population annually. The numbers are still rising. So the question returns, louder than before. Instead of leaving these animals to rot in mass graves, why aren't we butchering them? Why aren't we feeding the hungry? The answer lies inside the pig itself. The first barrier to the dinner plate is invisible, and it is lethal. Domestic pigs live in biosecure facilities. They eat formulated feed, they are vaccinated, they are monitored. A wild boar is a scavenger. They are opportunistic omnivores that will eat anything: rotting carrion, feces, garbage, and even their own dead. Consequently, they are walking vessels for disease. Scientists have identified at least 24 different diseases in wild populations that can jump to humans. This is the realm of zoonotic spillover. We are talking about brucellosis, a bacteria that attacks the joints and organs, causing chronic, debilitating fevers. We are talking about swine influenza. But the most feared is trichiannolosis, a parasitic roundworm that cysts inside the muscle tissue. If you eat the meat undercooked, these larvae hatch inside your digestive tract, burrow through your intestines, and migrate into your muscles. The danger isn't just in the eating, it's in the harvesting. A slip of the knife during field dressing, a microscopic droplet of blood hitting a hunter's eye, inhaling dust kicked up from a dried carcass. That is all it takes. A 2024 review labeled them triple threat pests for a reason. They damage the land, they destroy livestock, and they carry a biological payload that makes them a hazard to human health. Let's say you are willing to take the risk. You want to turn this pest into a product. You will immediately run into a wall of federal law. In the United States, wild pigs exist in a legal gray area. They are not livestock, yet they are not traditional game. To sell meat commercially, the USDA requires an antemortem inspection. This means the animal must be inspected by a federal veterinarian while it is still alive. This creates an impossible bottleneck. You cannot inspect a wild animal that was shot in a forest 3 hours ago. To sell the meat, the pigs must be trapped alive, transported in secure trailers to one of the very few processing plants licensed to handle them, and then slaughtered under inspection. The infrastructure simply doesn't exist. Between 2017 and 2019, out of millions of pigs, only 242,000 were processed legally, and even when they make it to the plant, the rejection rate is staggering. Inspectors condemn huge numbers of carcasses due to abscesses, pneumonia, or signs of septicemia. It is a logistical nightmare with thin profit margins. Most large-scale meat processors simply refuse to touch them. The risk to their equipment and their reputation is just too high. But the barriers aren't just legal or medical. There is a sensory reality that makes wild boar a hard sell to the American palate. If you buy pork from a grocery store, you are buying consistency. Every chop tastes the same. Wild boar is the definition of unpredictability, and the biggest variable is a phenomenon known as boar taint. In adult male hogs, sexual maturity triggers the production of androstenone and scatol. These compounds accumulate in the fat. When you cook the meat, these chemicals are released. To those sensitive to it, the smell is repulsive. It is described as urine, sweat, or even fecal matter. There is no way to know if a hog has it until the meat hits the heat. Imagine a restaurant trying to serve that. It's culinary Russian roulette. And sometimes, the unpredictability turns into a true mystery. In 2015, hunters in California field-dressed a wild pig and found something that looked like science fiction. The fat wasn't white, it was a vivid, shocking blue. Panic ensued. Was it a genetic mutation, copper poisoning, industrial runoff? The leading theory eventually pointed to anticoagulant rodent poison the pig had eaten, dyeing its insides blue. While rare, incidents like this cement a deep psychological barrier. To the American consumer, these animals are trash eaters. They are dirty, they are gross. And yet, if we look across the ocean, the narrative flips upside down. In Italy, the wild boar, or cinghiale, is not a pest, it is a treasure. In Tuscany, it is the centerpiece of a rich culinary heritage, slow-cooked in red wine sauces and served over pappardelle pasta. In Germany and France, the boar is noble game, honored in autumn festivals and sold in high-end markets. In Japan, the dish botan nabe arranges boar meat to look like a peony flower. It is believed to bring vitality and strength. In these cultures, the strong flavor and lean texture are features, not bugs. They have systems to inspect the meat, traditions to cook it, and a culture that respects the animal. This is the great paradox. The rest of the world sees a premium resource. America sees a monster. We spend millions of dollars to poison, trap, and shoot them, leaving the protein to rot in the sun, while importing farm-raised pork from thousands of miles away. Will this ever change? Can America get over its psychological block? There are small signs of movement. Some chefs and ethical hunters are trying to rebrand wild boar as the ultimate sustainable meat.
free range, antibiotic-free, and carbon neutral. If the infrastructure for safe processing can be built, we could solve two problems at once: feeding a nation and saving an ecosystem. But until the laws change and until the stigma fades, the wild pig remains the antagonist of the American wilderness, a creature we cannot control, and a feast we refuse to touch. For now, the invasion continues, and the meat stays in the woods.